Hello there. Once again, you'll see this off and on. I'm coming to you from my bathroom because the lighting is really good in here and what I'm doing is not messy. So for your benefit, so that you can see well what I'm doing, this is where I'm at. But I had a viewer. I posted a video a while back, a few days ago, about rehabbing this Stanley square. And I mentioned in the video that I had checked this square and I knew that it was square. Now this is important because a lot of squares are not square. It's particularly if you're buying cheap Stanley and Irwin and other brands at Lowe's or Home Depot or Harbor Freight or places like that. 9 times out of 10, that square is not square. So I had a viewer post and he said, well, how do you know? How do you check a square for square? He said, do you use another square that you know is square? Well, you can do that. If you have a square that you know is square, you can check that square with the good square. The problem is how do you know any square that you have is square? How do you determine that? We're going to show you a simple way, because he said, and he was kind of being playful, but he said, what's the authority on square? Well, we're going to show you how easy it is to check a square for square, and then I explain with a combination square. There are different methods for different squares, but I will explain to you how to put a combination square into square if it's out. All right, what I have here is a piece of shelving unit that I bought from Lowe's. And the reason I got it, I use it with a router to joint electric guitar bodies, two-piece bodies, so that I can take a router and use the edge as a guide for straight. Use a bearing bit and put a perfectly straight edge on the two halves that are going to be joined together. And these are really flat. They're very square. So what you're doing is you're getting a piece. I have a piece of paper taped down here just because this is black and I want you to be able to see. But find you a piece of wood that is perfectly square, perfectly straight. The factory edge on a piece of plywood, this kind of thing. And what you do is you take your square, and I don't know if you can, let's go this way. And you lay that square on that end, and you make sure it's along that edge the way it's supposed to be. Actually, most people will extend the square out, way out. I'm just going to extend it to about right there. And that's not critical, and I'll explain to you why later. But it's not moving, it's tight, it's not going anywhere. Then I'll take this square, lay it down here. Let's go for the center. And take a fairly sharp pencil and mark that line. And then I'll flip the square over this way and line that up. And draw another line. And you see that that line is one and the same. Let's do it again. Now, if that square is square. Now, if the square had been out of square, you'd see some kind of variation of that. I don't know if you can see, but let's turn it this way. Some kind of variation of this. You'd have a gap either here or down here somewhere. Instead, if I can back to that again, you can see my original line. It was perfectly fine. Let's do it one more time and show you again, once again. Don't know if I can get it. Got to shuffle around. All right. Once again, that line is perfectly the same. There's no difference between the two. That's how you check a square. Now, what if my square is out? Well, if you look, this is two pieces. You have this piece, and then the rule itself. If you look inside this slot, you'll see at the front and right here at the back, in the bottom of this slot, there are two little nubs, for lack of a better word, bumps, shelves, whatever you want to call them. And they have to be perfectly parallel with one another in order for the square to be square. And it's done that way so you can adjust it. If the square tilts down, you would take a small file, a micro file, and file this nub so that when you tighten it up, the blade would lift back into square. If the blade is high, you would take a file and file that nub a little bit until it drops back down into square. This is one of the reasons I will say to you, and I know I'll probably get blowback and people will say that I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, I'm a newbie, but in my opinion, square is square. If you get it square and it works like on that paper, it don't matter what the name is. As long as, I mean, if you're using it for measurements, obviously you need to get enough of a quality ruler that the measurements are right. Because believe it or not, there are some junky ones out there where an inch ain't an inch. That kind of deal. But other than that, okay, people are spending money, a lot of money on high dollar squares. If you're an engineer or somebody that needs super precision, well, maybe. But $100, $150, $200 for a square, they're made to be adjusted. Adjust that puppy till it's in square, and you're good to go for woodworking. We're not building, I'm not doing brain surgery. I'm not building fine Swiss watches. I don't have to have 0.0001 precision. I'm just building out of wood with hand tools. You're not going to get 0.0001 precision, okay, with all the different pieces that you put together for a hand tool build anyway. Okay, you're not a machine, and neither am I. So the square that you have will work if you adjust it to make it square. Now, one other thing. This is made out of a nice heavy piece of steel. Okay? if you go to Lowe's and you buy an Irwin or probably a Stanley or whatever, this is probably going to be made out of aluminum. And I've even seen guys that didn't use the file, but they took the corner of this and shaved off that little nub, because it's aluminum, till it fit. That works. The thing of it is if you've got one that's aluminum, when you slide this back and forth enough, in my opinion, there's potential for wear on those little nubs, and there's potential for your square to go out of square during use. So what I would recommend to you is, if you possess one of those with an aluminum piece, is that you periodically check your squares, make sure they're square. It's easy to do, not an issue. It takes literally less than a minute, and you'll be better off for it. Your woodworking will be better off for it. All right. Bless you. Talk to you later.